Hey there, creative minds. Welcome back to my channel. I've got something really special for you today. A tutorial that's been requested by our awesome community. A tutorial on how I create my icons. So here it is, folks. Today, we're going to explore the exciting world of icon creation and animation using the amazing CreateStudio Pro. Whether you're a seasoned content creator looking to elevate your videos or just taking your first steps into the world of video editing, this tutorial is tailor-made for you. But fear not, my friends. We're going to keep things simple, clear, and super fun. By the end of this tutorial, you'll have all the skills you need to craft your own icons and give them a lively spin. Before we dive deeper, let's take a quick peek at what the icons and titles animation looks like. So, grab your coffee or your favorite beverage, fire up CreateStudio Pro, and let's embark on this creative journey together. After all, creating icons and animations is not just a skill, it's an art form. Are you ready to dive in? Fantastic! Let's get started. As you've just seen, here on my timeline, I've organized all the icons and titles groups that I personally created in this project. They're neatly grouped and perfectly aligned, making for a tidy workspace. But now, let's roll up our sleeves and create an icon from scratch to show you how it's done. I'll head over to my media folder, where I have some transparent PNG images of icons I needed to replicate in CreateStudio. These PNG icons are my own creations, crafted using a vector graphic editor called Inkscape. By the way, Inkscape is a fantastic, free, and open-source vector graphics editor available for Windows, Mac OS, and Linux. If you're interested in learning how to use Inkscape, check out the link I've placed in the description box below. Alternatively, you can also find and download icons from the internet to use as reference, as you won't be directly using that downloaded file in your CreateStudio project. It will serve as a helpful guide while you create your own unique icon right here in CreateStudio. So let's start by simply dragging and dropping this PNG file onto our canvas. As you can see, the icon is currently in black, and I'd like it to stand out more on my canvas. However, since it's a PNG file, we don't have a color swatch available on the right side panel for direct adjustments. To change the color of this file, we'll head over to the left side menu. From the effects section, I'll grab the color fill effect and then just drag and drop it right onto my PNG file. And there you go, the color transformation is complete. Now, let's move on to replicating this car outline. To achieve this, I'll be using the trusty pen tool, which you can easily locate in the top side menu. Just give it a click to activate it. A quick tip, on the right side panel, you'll find some handy instructions on adding points, adding with Bezier points, toggling points, deleting base or Bezier, and even some nifty keyboard shortcuts to make your life easier. With the pen tool now active, let's start our journey by adding our first point. We'll kick things off right here at the top end. So, simply click once to add that initial point, and then continue placing points along the car outline. I strategically position these points, keeping in mind that I'll come back to each one of them to fine-tune the lines later. There are a couple of different approaches you can take when working with the pen tool. As you'll see in a moment, I like to add points first and then refine them later. However, you can also fine-tune a point right when you initially click and drag to create a Bezier point, like this. It's all about finding your preferred method that works best for you in the creative process. Now that I've added my last point, let's go back to this specific point and give it a little more finesse. I'll simply double-click on it to reveal the Bezier handles, allowing me to precisely adjust the curve of the line. I'm going to follow the same process for the next point where a curved line is needed. If you'd like, you can grab that point and move it around, offering you greater flexibility to find that perfect, graceful curve. To round off those corner points, here's a handy tip. Just hold down the Option key on Mac or the Alt key on Windows while dragging, and voila, you've transformed a base point into a Bezier point. Now that I have my line looking just the way I want it, I'll click on Exit Pen Tool. To match my reference, I'll also increase the border width. And for that finishing touch, I'll head over to Border and change the line cap to rounded. Take a look, the end of my line now has a beautifully rounded edge. After adjusting the border width, let's continue fine-tuning our design by moving and dragging the base points or Bezier handles to align them with our reference guide. To round those sharp corners, remember the trick I mentioned earlier. Simply hold down the Option key on Mac or the Alt key on Windows while dragging, and then rotate the point until you achieve that perfectly rounded corner you're aiming for. You can also gently adjust the Bezier handles to fine-tune the curve. Repeat this process for all the remaining corners. Once you're satisfied with the drawn line, it's time to wrap things up. Simply exit the pen tool. Now, just to stay organized, I'll right-click on the path element here on the timeline, and I will rename it Car Outline. To create the outline for the car window, let's once again activate the pen tool and begin adding points along our trusty yellow reference guide. Once I've added all my points, it's time to perform some fine adjustments on each one, ensuring that our line flows smoothly and has that desired rounded look. With the car window outline looking just as we want it, I'll exit the pen tool and then increase the border width to match our design perfectly. For even more precise adjustments, consider temporarily decreasing the opacity to get a better view of your work. Once the border is just right, you can easily reset the opacity back to 100%. And let's not forget to keep our project tidy and organized. Right-click on the path element in the timeline and give it a clear name like Car Window. I understand that creating your own animated icons can seem like a meticulous task, and we're only halfway through our tutorial. But remember, crafting exceptional video projects often requires hard work and dedication. However, if you prefer a more streamlined approach with ready-made icons that you can easily integrate into your CreateStudio scenes for various video projects, I've got you covered. I personally design a range of CreateStudio templates tailored for different purposes, and they're available at a remarkably affordable price on my templates marketplace. To explore all the templates I've created so far, I invite you to visit my marketplace. You'll find the link in the description box below. And guess what? I even have a dedicated page where I offer some of these templates for free. So whether you're looking for convenience or a budget-friendly option, I've got something for everyone. Now let's pick up where we left off in our tutorial, at the car tire. To create the car tire, I'll navigate up here to the Shape menu and select an arc shape. Afterward, I'll resize it to perfectly align with our reference guide. To complete this step, I'll increase the end angle all the way up to 360 degrees. And again, just to stay organized, I will rename this as Car Tire. Now, having the arc shape selected and by using Command D on Mac or Control D on Windows, I can easily create a duplicate of that arc shape. I'll resize this duplicate to make it smaller and adjust the arc width accordingly to match my reference guide precisely. I'll further fine-tune the shape and bring down the end angle to around 90 degrees. I renamed this element as well, Spinning Tire. And I am changing the color to this bright green. Now that our car outline is complete, we no longer require the reference guide PNG file. Let's tidy up a bit by selecting it here on the timeline and hitting the delete key. To animate the car outline just like in the video I previously showcased, let's head over to the effects section. From here, I'll grab this doodle effect and apply it to the car outline element. By clicking on the doodle effect, I open the doodle effect settings here on the right side panel. First, I'll toggle off the show hand option to hide the drawing hand. Then I'll switch to manual mode and hit edit path. You'll notice that the default drawing path is a zigzag pattern, which isn't quite what we're aiming for. So, I'll clear the default drawing path by clicking here, and I'll create my own from scratch. To do this, I'll simply hold down the Control key and click to add the first point of the new drawing path. Now, the path width appears a bit too wide, so I'll adjust the draw size here. With all that set, I'll continue adding new points along the car outline. Here's a crucial step. Make sure the drawing path covers the entire area of your shape, leaving none of the shape's original color visible underneath. I'll keep adding points along the car outline until I've completely covered the entire shape. Once I've finished with the drawing, I click Finish to close the drawing path. Now, take a look here. The doodle drawing effect has been seamlessly added to our car outline. You can control the speed of this effect by simply dragging the right edge of the added effect. Play around with it until it's just the way you like it. Let's give our car outline a fresh coat of paint. I'll change the color to a crisp white. Now let's indulge ourselves with a quick preview to see how that line will be elegantly drawn. Looking fantastic, isn't it? But we're not done yet. To add a stylish ending animation, head back up to the Effects tab and open the Doodle settings once more. This time, we're diving into the erasing effect. Toggle the switch on to activate the erasing effect. Once again, we'll turn off the show hand option and switch to manual mode. Now, click on Edit Path. You'll notice that the default erasing path isn't quite what we have in mind. Let's clear that and start anew. Since this is an erasing effect, I'll begin from the opposite end of our car outline, tracing the path along the shape until it's completely erased. So, let's dive right into it. I'll begin by holding down the Control key and clicking to add the first point of our erasing path. Now, the path width seems a tad wide, so I'll make a quick adjustment, setting it to around 50. With that done, I'll keep adding new points along the car outline, working my way to the opposite end. Once I've reached that end, I'll simply head over here and click Finish. Now, let's hit the play button and see how it all comes together. And would you look at that? It's looking absolutely perfect. In our preview, we observed a vibrant green color outlining the car, followed by a clean white outline. To replicate that effect, we'll begin by making a duplicate of the car outline. Simply use Command D on Mac or Control D on Windows. Now, let's give this duplicate a dazzling bright green hue. I'll extend the timeline slightly and position this duplicate to appear 5 frames after the original. We'll also adjust the ending, ensuring it concludes 5 frames earlier than the one below. Let's take a sneak peek and see how this all comes together in the preview. These two car outline elements should be swapped. The one above will now be white, and the one below will take on that vibrant green hue. See? This is how it's meant to look, just like in the original preview. Now that our car outline is all set, let's shift our attention to the car window and replicate the same magic. First things first, I'll give it that striking bright green color. Heading to the left side menu, I'll navigate to the Effects section and bring in a doodle effect right onto the car window element in our timeline. As you open the Doodle Settings panel, ensure that you're working on the Drawing tab settings. So, go ahead and select Drawing. Once again, disable the Show Hand option because we don't want that drawing hand to be visible while we're outlining the car window. Up here, we'll switch to manual mode and click Edit Path. Notice that the initial path is a bit messy, so we'll simply click Clear and set the draw size to 50. Now, using the same technique as before, we'll hold down the Command key on Mac or the Control key on Windows and click to add points. Keep adding points until the entire car window outline is covered, then click Finish. Next, we'll switch over to the Erasing tab to work on the erasing settings. We'll follow the same settings as for the drawing effect, with one small twist. For the erasing, I'll go in the opposite direction when adding points, so our erasing effect appears to move backward. Looking great! With the car window element selected, let's hit Duplicate to create a copy. We'll then adjust the right and left edges of this duplicate to align with the car outline element below. And for this one, we'll give it a clean white color. And let's take another look at how it all comes together. Now that we've finished working on all the elements of the car outline, it's time to tidy up. We can select all 4 of them, and with Command G on Mac or Control G on Windows, we'll group them together. Let's rename this group Car Outline. Quick tip: now that this is a group, you can right-click, select Save to My Scenes, and have it ready for use in any future project. Next up, let's make the car tire white. For the spinning tire, I'm going to add a custom animation. I'll choose rotation and set linear for both easing in and out. With the play head at the last keyframe, I'll open the properties and increase the rotation value to about 1300. Moving forward, I'll add another custom animation for the ending part. Again, rotation, with linear easing for both in and out. At the last keyframe, I'll reset the rotation value to 0. Now that the car tire elements are set, I'll select both and group them together for a neat and organized timeline. I'll rename this group Car Tire. I want to apply a scale-up animation to the whole group. So I'll head up to Motion, select Scale for the animation, and scale back up. I'll adjust the timing slightly. For the out animation, I'll go back to Motion, select Scale, and scale down. With everything in order, both the car and window outline and the car tire, I can now select both groups and group them together. I'll rename this one Car Group. Having everything in one group allows you to easily resize by grabbing a corner and adjusting it to your preferences. You can also right-click and choose Save to My Scenes for future projects. Let's take the next step by adding a text element onto the canvas. I'll type in Rent a Car and switch the font to Bebas NEE. Clicking on the T icon, I'll activate the word wrap option. With this feature enabled, I can simply grab the lower margin of the text box and drag it upwards to adjust the text line height. I'll align the text to the left and resize it to match the car icon. For the text element, I'll navigate to Motion and select Position. I'll choose to make it slide in from the left side to the right. I'll adjust the X starting position to -100 and set the easing to Expo. If you're interested in learning more about easing, be sure to watch the video that pops up in the top right corner on how to use easing for smoother animations. For the out animation, I'll head back to Motion, switch to out animation, and select Position to slide it back to the left side. Here, I'll change the X position value to about -200 and maintain the Expo easing. Let's see. It's perfect. Now, the last step is to mask the text to make it appear as if it's coming out from behind the car outline. To achieve that, I'll bring in a square shape from the Shapes menu and adjust it to align with the car icon. For better positioning, I'll temporarily reduce the square's opacity so I can see through it, and position the shape precisely in relation to the car icon. Once it's in place, I'll restore the opacity to 100 and rename this shape as Text Mask. To be able to mask the text with the square shape, I'll first need to group the text element. I'll also rename this group as Text Group. Now I can select both the text group and the text mask, right-click, and choose Mask Text Group with Text Mask. And there you have it. Let's take a look at how it all comes together. Now, let me walk you through how I crafted the dynamic speed lines animation that trails behind the car and text. Instead of starting from scratch, which could be quite time-consuming, I'll dive into the original group we've already created and break down the process for you. I'll navigate through each group, opening them up one by one until we reach the very first group. Here, within this group, I've crafted line bars using rectangular shapes. All the elements within this group have applied motion preset animations in pairs, one with a scale-up animation and the other with a scaled-down animation. Here's an important note. Currently, CreateStudio doesn't allow different anchor points for one element related to the in and out animations. In this particular example, I needed my rectangle to scale up from the left side to the right. However, for the out animation, I required the same scaling effect from the left side to the right as well. To achieve this, I created two rectangles, the first one with the anchor point set to the middle left and the second rectangle with the anchor point set to the middle right. To better grasp the visual effect, take a look at how it plays out. Moving one group back, we have another group on the right, similar to the one we just explored, with the only difference being that this one plays in reverse. One more, stepping back one group, you'll notice we have 4 identical groups. I simply duplicated one group 3 more times. After that, I set each of them to enter at different times. Now, let's take a quick look at how it all plays out. And there you have it. This is how I created the mesmerizing speed lines animation. And that wraps up our tutorial on how to create your very own icons and bring them to life with animations in CreateStudio Pro. I hope you found this tutorial helpful and inspiring for your video projects. Remember, the power of creativity is in your hands, and with a little practice, you can craft stunning visuals that truly stand out. If you enjoyed this tutorial, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more exciting content, and leave your comments or questions below. I'd love to hear from you and help you with any additional tips or tricks you may need. Thanks for joining me on this creative journey, and I can't wait to see the amazing icons and animations you'll create in your future projects. Until next time, have fun creating!